there. So on your right, you've got Vidianto Wijaya, Grand Prix Denver champion from much earlier this year.
Yep.
We were both at that Grand Prix. I dropped. I lost playing for day 2. You dropped early as well.
No, I was X1 at the end of day 1.
Oh, that's right.
Won my first round of day 2, and then won forward to.
Yes, and then we saw everything that Denver had to offer that evening.
Right, and also that as it turned out, that 1 and 4 ended up costing me silver and a qualification for Pro Tour Dublin. The way that things played out, so no big deal.
Not a big deal, just a bag of bones there that I brought up.
Not a big deal.
He'll be playing Black Green Devotion again. VD's he wanted to let us know that his green splash is very minor in his mono black deck. Nothing major, just abrupt decay. And we've got Sidher. He's playing Boros, very close to the deck that Ben Lundquist is playing. He's going to start off with Judge's Familiar. So you've got an aggressive deck against a control one. Now, it's not mono red, but it's pretty close, as Wijaya is going to play a Swamp and just pass the turn back. So Judge's Familiar is going to come in here for Sidher, and now he's going to play a Daring Skyjack and pass the turn back. We'll see if VD has a removal spell, which it does not look like he does.
No. And again, a very metagamed. Vidianto's list, again, one of these very heavily metagamed towards beating the mirror match type of list that we've seen with the main deck Pack Rats. He's got his removal suite's very dedicated to that. 4 Night Veil Specters, no Lifebane Zombies. This is sort of the evolution of the Black Devotion decks we've talked about.
All right, so Daring Skyjack going to come into the red zone, offering up a trade with an Nightveil Spectre. No, sir, there's an Imposing Sovereign now. We saw it from Lundquist's side. He had Azorius Arrestor.
Yep.
You see Sidher here. You see Sidher has, Imposing Sovereign. You can see the difference between the two cards right now.
Yeah, well,
you really
it's much more powerful. Having the Sovereign is very good this turn if VD has to play a Desecrator Demon, for example.
Sure.
But the Arrestor has a little more flexibility later on in the game.
All right, so Nykthos is going to come into play. That can add 3 Devotion, but that requires 3 mana, so he's going to still just have 4 mana total for the turn. Will Wijaya, you see his hand right now. He's got an Underworld Connections. He's got Ultimate Price. He's got some things to do. He also has a Grey Merchant hiding out in his hand, too. So we'll see how he wants to craft these next couple of turns.
Yeah, a lot of power. And this is kind of the rough thing, about, say, a windy deck versus a mono red deck. Ricky's creatures are much more powerful than the ones that I had to play with, but he has no reach and much less removal. So the things that VD plays to the board, he has to slog through. He has no reach to burn him out of the game, and that's going to make things like slogging through Grey Merchant much more challenging.
So let's see. You see VD taking a decent amount of time on this turn to just figure out what he wants to do.
Oh, he
just passed it back.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. So he's just leaving up a removal spell. Sidher's going to play a Sacred Foundry untapped. There's a Spear. This is obvious. This is a pretty clear representation of Brave the Elements in the grip.
Yep. But he's not going to do it preemptively, I guess. Yep. He's not going to offer up anything that any suicide attacks here. Just going to attack with the stuff that he can attack with and force VD to act first and then Brave.
Mm-hmm. So that's exactly what does happen. VD does cast an Ultimate Price. Brave the Element's going to counter that, give creatures protection from black. Sidher's going to come across for 4, 5, 6, 7 points of damage and just going to pass it back. So got some work to do here if you're Wijaya.
Yeah, Grey Merchant's a pretty good start here. Just starting to get caught up a little bit.
You see the Grey Merchant. He's got Underworld Connections. One mystery card hanging out there. Grey Merchants, I mean, it's not bad here.
No,
Gain
it's
5,
totally
gain
fine.
5, drain 5.
The body's valuable.
Yep. Will come into play tapped.
Yep.
Because of the Sovereign, but the body is valuable over the course of the game. And I mean, Nightveil Spectre is doing a decent job right now of kind of holding the ground. Not great, but I think you have to play the Grey Merchant, which is what Jai is going to do. And so he's going to go up to, he can go up to 14, and Sidher's going to go down to 13.
So Ricky starts his turn, and we'll see if he has, VD's defenses are down. This is a really good spot for him to capitalize if he has something. It appears that he has another copy of Brave the Elements here.
That's a good Magic card.
Yes. So we're going to see if Ricky just fires in here. His Mutavault's a 3/3 because of the Spear, so that can attack in a Nightveil Spectre. The rest of his team could get protection from black. Hit for quite a bit, but it would leave Ricky kind of out of resources.
I think it's worth moving in, especially when you
Depends
have.
what the last card in his hand is.
You have cards like Boros Charm to draw too for a little bit of reach. Johnny Calderbride also providing reach in this situation.
The fact that he has natural good attacks anyway between the Skyjack, the Mutavault, and the Opposing Sovereign means I wouldn't want to fire off this Brave the Elements just yet unless it's for lethal.
I like the attack with the Judge's Familiar. Because if Wijaya wants to take the opportunity to eat the Judge's Familiar, he would end up taking 3, 4, 7. That'd be 10 damage, put him down to 4.
Yeah.
And I mean, how much better is this Judge's Familiar going to get over the course of this game?
Well, if he's at some point trying to set up a turn that involves Brave the Elements, then that Judge's Familiar gets cashed in for 2 damage.
Okay.
It also potentially obstructs some sort of play that VD wants to make because the Force Spike is still there. So
Okay.
it has greater than 0 value and another Imposing Sovereign.
And just pass the turn back. Okay.
See, that's a spot where the Arrestor would have been better. So, it's you mix and you match.
Yeah, sure. Maybe we should play just one of each.
Yeah.
Had you considered that?
Well, one of each is arguably better than 2 of either, I guess. Who even knows?
Not I, that's for sure. Only Craig Wesco, I think.
Right.
He's the only one. Craig, tweeted us,
Right.
please.
Like, is 1 Imposing Sovereign 3 Arrestor correct? Like, maybe that's, I don't know. It's hard to say. So VD's hand appears to be an Ultimate Price, an Underworld Connections, and an uncastable Abrupt Decay.
All right, there's Connections, which this is one of the few matchups where it is quite poor.
Yeah, Ricky's got to be thrilled with that use of mana.
Yeah. Draw a card, got to be thrilled with the activation,
Yep,
too.
Keep it coming.
Overgrown Tomb, the card drawn, which is...
Allows him to cast the Abrupt Decay in his hand, but he has to take 2, so...
That means he'd be at 5, and we know that there's a Brave the Elements hanging out, and Vidianto is just going to pick it up, saying, I am pretty much dead at this point. So Sidher's going to win game number 1 over Wijaya. Boros up a game over Black-Green Devotion. Again, both these players sitting at 2-0. We'll start with Wijaya's sideboard here. He's playing against an aggressive strategy, and these are one of the things that we felt could kind of push Mono Black Devotion out of the metagame. Now, this is a white one, not a red-based one, but it's all the same. It's trying to kill you quickly, and it did a nice job of it there.
What's also kind of interesting about this is VD never showed a green card or green source of mana.
Yep.
So that trick is still in the bag, potentially. Yep. I really like another copy of Ultimate Price. I like bringing in an additional copy of Whip of Erebos. I like the 2 copies of a Golgari Charm. 2 Putrefies is reasonable. It's a removal spell that can also catch Spear. And then he has another copy of Abrupt Decay too. So I expect him to just kind of go to more removal.
Take a look at Sidher's sideboard here. He's going to be on the draw for this game. He's got a Permanent State Captain in the sideboard. He's got 3 in his main deck, the 4th one in the board. A single Pacifism, 4 copies of Boros Reckoner, 3 copies of Glare of Heresy, 2 Gideon Champion of Justice, 2 copies of Electrickery, a Mizian Mortars, and an Assemble the Legion. Truthfully, not a lot of these cards really stand out to me as being great in this particular matchup. I like Assemble the Legion as a singleton in a sideboard, but again, that's a 5-mana spell. In a deck that doesn't play a ton of lands, we're looking at he's got 4 Temple, Triumph, 4 Sacred Foundry, 4 Mutavault, so that's 12 plus 11 planes. That's 23 lands, 5-mana spell coming in on the sideboard. As great as Assemble the Legion is against these Black Devotion decks, again, well, we're not excited about it.
I like having singletons of cards like that in a lot of the sideboards that I build because post-board games are just going to be going longer. Your opponents are... There's very few post-board games that get faster. Almost all of them get slower because people are bringing in reactive elements. And that incentivizes people to also cut the most aggressive elements out of their deck because they're going to be running into more removal and what have you. So even though the amount of lands that you're talking about and sort of the structure of Ricky's deck doesn't lend itself very well to Assemble the Legion, in the post-board games, 1 is a pretty low opportunity cost with huge upside, and the game's likely to go on much longer than it went on in the first game.
Okay. Other cards in this sideboard here, I mean, Gideon Champion of Justice is kind of a unique effect against this sort of strategy, and this is Planeswalker that you really can't interact with in a typical means. I'm not sure if that means that it's good in this matchup or not. It's kind of weird to see this in the sideboard. But the rest of the cards, again, the Precinct Captain, the Pacifism, the 4 Boros Reckoners, the 3 Glare of Heresies, the 2 Electrickeries, and the Mortars, pretty meh to me.
Yeah, I think that Gideon is probably for creature matchups where the board is prone to kind of getting stalled or slowed down between first strikers and bigger bodies where players are kind of staring at each other. Gideon can actually take up fairly quickly. I also wouldn't be surprised if it came in against pure control decks just to diversify your threat base a little bit.
Sure.
Whether Mono Black Devotion qualifies or not, that's a different question. But I would suspect it's mostly for kind of mid-rangey creature decks was where you would want Gideon.
All right, both players shuffling it for game number 2. Again, these are two very, very skilled magicians. If you guys aren't familiar with Ricky Sidher, I believe this is Ship It.
It is Robin to Michael Hetrick's Batman.
Yes, this is either Ship It Holler, Sip It Holler, Slip It Holler. Yeah. One of these guys. He's won multiple Magic Online PTQs. He's actually lost in the finals of a PTQ for Valencia to Hetrick this season. So he is very, very skilled. I remember the first time I met him was at Pro Tour Austin many years ago. I think it was 2009, 2010. Really good Magic player. Doesn't get to travel as much and all of those things, but we are in his home state.
Yep.
So he came down here to play this, already off to a nice start, sitting at 2-0. And, of course, Vidianto Wijaya, we've watched him win a Legacy Open in Vegas with Esper Stoneblade. Watched him win Grand Prix Denver, the Legacy GP, earlier this year with Esper Stoneblade. So he's done some winning over the course of his career.
And an Esper Blade enthusiast, to be sure. And that first game was a great demonstration of what I was talking about when I said the mono black devotion deck had gotten really inbred. The cards that BD drew and cast were nonsense against an opponent who was just casting creatures and attacking.
Yeah, against an opponent who was here just to kind of just kick your teeth in.
Just to brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looked pretty poor in that game. But, as you said, that's kind of expected because of what happened at Grand Prix Louisville. When you have a deck have a weekend just like that, where it's complete domination by Anderson, Nelson, and Bronduin.
Yeah,
absolutely. Something that I've been playing competitive Magic for a very long time. I haven't seen things like that happen very often, especially with how things are nowadays in Magic, where, in the years prior, back in your early 2000s, where the internet was kind of just building up and people weren't sharing information as much. But nowadays, everyone kind of knows about everything nowadays. And for the mono black devotion deck to just put on the performance it did, it changed the landscape on everything. Going to the Invitational, you just saw people. Do you have Dark Betrayal? How many pack rats are you playing? I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play 5. If that's okay.
Right.
I don't think anyone knows. I'm just gonna play 5 of them. It's the best card in the mirror, and just stuff like that. It was just kind of crazy. So the inbred. The inbreeding that's taken place here, not really surprising, but then you've got, kind of the fun police here with Boros and Mono Red saying, yeah, you guys work on those Dark Betrayals and those embarrassing pack rats, and I'm just going to kick your teeth in.
Right. I'm just going to hit you.
So we're going to start off with a Dried Militant here for Sidher. Wijaya just with some beautiful swamps and just going to pass the turn back. Probably has a removal spell at the ready. Again, one of the other things about being kind of inbred is that a lot of people have moved towards Ultimate Price.
Yep.
Can't take care of that Dryad, even though Dryad's not that great of a Magic card. It's getting the job done right now, and you can't kill it. Follow up with an Imposing Sovereign, pass the turn back.
Speaking of not a great Magic card.
Hey, these white cards kind of stink, but they get the job done. Golgari Guildgate going to pass the turn back. So the green, the cat's out of the bag now.
And now it's possible something like Golgari Charm could be insane.
Yeah, Golgari Charm would be so very good right now. Going to come across for 4 points of damage. Jai going to move it down to 14. See if Sidher has a follow-up play. See if he's really scared of a card like Golgari Charm now, too.
Certainly it would loom very heavily in my mind over how I sequence this turn.
Well, there's 2 Judges Familiars, so he's moving in, as it were.
Yeah, or not, I guess.
Yeah. If you have it, you have it. It's going to be a Wrath. Now, of course, Wijaya would need the next land, and you do see in his hand he actually does have it, so I think it's worth casting. I'm going to cast Golgari Charm. What mode would you like to select, Patrick?
I would like to select Regenerate All. Oh, never mind. -1, -1.
-1, everything? Okay. A 4-for-1. We know that Mono Black doesn't have Mutilate anymore, but it has Shrivel.
Yeah.
Ish. So a very good Golgari Charm there from Wijaya. Follow-up play is just going to be a Precinct Captain. And now, Mono Black doesn't have, a ton of removal, like mass removal right now. So that Golgari Charm Splash is what's going to have to get the job done. But this is exactly how, if you're Wijaya, this is how you want the game to go.
Right.
The Johnny Call of the Pride is going to try to pump up Precinct Captain, give it a +1/+1 counter. The Replicate says, I don't think so. And now Nightveil Spectre can go to work either on the Planeswalker or on Sidher in general. Looks like I just saw a blue-green temple. Is that the Temple of Mystery? The Temple of Triumph, excuse me.
Just facilitating the splash, waiting for, I suppose, the Green-Black Scryland in the next set to sort of fix this.
You see what Wijaya's handing out. He's got Desecration Demon. He's got Hero's Downfall. He's got Underworld Connections. He's got plenty of options here where Sidher's kind of mopey creatures. I don't know if they can come back in this one. Wijaya's sitting at 14.
Yeah, this is with the Underworld Connections left over, BD can be pretty aggressive in the next couple of turns of getting out in front of the board and then have a backup plan in case Ricky's able to weather the storm somehow.
I think the two options here, if you're actually, I think all three options are pretty good right now, honestly. I could attack the Planeswalker, or I can just stack you and take the top card off your deck. I could just Hero's Downfall that Ajani. I could play Desecration Demon. It is a 6/6 after all. You see Mutavault come off the top there for the Nightveil Spectre. Or I could just play Underworld Connections and just draw a card. If you're Wijaya in this situation, obviously you don't know Sidher's hand, but would you just want to deploy the 6/6 and pass?
Well, yeah, I like this because, it sets you up for being able to use your Hero's Downfall to kill something and be able to then kill the Ajani with your Desecrator Demon, not really have to worry about it. Just take it out in one shot.
Okay. So 6/6 is going to come into play. You see Ajani's going to pump up the Sovereign. Now the Sovereign is a 3/2. Can't really tango with any of these things right now, however. Going to play the Mutavault off the Spectre. Will Wijaya for his land drop for the turn. We see that his draw step was another Underworld Connection. So two of those to go along with a Hero's Downfall in his hand. And we're going to see that 6/6 try to take down the Ajani. It does. Spectre's going to come to Sidher. Top card, what are you? You're a Boros Charm. We're a long way away from that.
Well, we have green, blue, and black mana, so we're only a little bit short right now.
Underworld Connection's going to go into a swamp, and we're going to pass the turn back. Sitting pretty comfortably.
Yep.
If you're Wijaya right now. Gotta feel, everything kind of lined up pretty well this game.
Well, the Golgari Charm especially was a backbreaker.
And I'm a big fan of, there's a Boros Charm that's going to go up to the dome. I'm a big fan of the green splash in the Mono Black Devotion deck. I think the green cards that are splashing are all just so powerful.
Yes.
Abrupt Decay is a great card. Golgari Charm is very, very good. Here's another Ajani that's going to come into play. I just like all of the green cards and all the things that it does to kind of make you better in the mirror match, better against Attention Sphere. Just, so I think just a healthy splash.
Yeah, I mean the mana's the tough part, right? BD is playing actually Prophetic Prism in his list, along with a lot of off-color green duels to make it happen. So
sure.
It's not low cost, but
well, either way, Wijaya is going to win game number 2 over Sidher, and so we're going to move into a third and final one between these two fantastic players. Black Green Devotion, Boros, they're evened up. You see Sidher going to shuffle his deck. Looks like he's happy with his configuration already. You see Wijaya is going to go back to the sideboard. Be interested to see if Sidher does go back, or if he's just happy with how his mono white deck is going to try to get the job done here with that light red splash.
Yeah, I guess if I was in VD's position, the card that's most likely to have a big discrepancy in power level versus on play versus draw is probably Pack Rat.
Okay.
Pack Rat on the play is probably fast enough in a lot of places to be productive. Pack Rat on the draw, probably not.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there.
If there's a swap happening, I would guess it's that card.
Well, we'll see if he does try to swap anything in or out here. If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Los Angeles. We are at Stan Lee's Kamikaze.
Yeah.
Did I get it right this time?
Kamikaze.
Kamikaze.
It's a kamikaze of comic books.
Yes.
I guess.
There it is. That's exactly what it is. If you guys do want to join us, of course, on Twitter at SCG Live, hashtag SCGLA. We'll be checking your tweets all weekend long. Part of the reason this matchup is on right now is because Killer_B tweeted at me and us that if we didn't put it on, we would be terrible at our jobs.
I think that's some sort of moral hazard we're opening up by allowing the viewership to dictate the coverage this much.
As Jalen Rose would say, give the people what they want. Got to do it.
Yeah.
Give the people what they need.
Oh, yeah. I think Glenn Jones was on top of it anyway. I think this match is going up regardless.
He does okay.
It's fine.
He does okay. Game number 3.
Yeah.
Boros on the play. Who you got?
Boros.
Wow.
BD needs to have...
It's that easy.
Well, BD has nothing to really do on the first turn of the game. He needs to there's a lot of pressure on him to have green mana early. I would rather be on the Boros side.
Can you leave Thoughtseize in this matchup?
I think BD probably has too many lands that come into play tapped. If he was a little bit smoother with the way the land drops worked, I think it would be one thing, but he's already going to be hiccuping a little bit with how efficient he is deploying his mana on turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, because he has to sneak in some comes into play tap lands along the way.
Okay.
That would lead me towards taking them out.
Okay. You know, there's a lot of times where people say, you know, people play against an aggressive strategy, you can just immediately board those Thoughtseizes out. But, you know, if you Thoughtseize a 2-drop, the 2-drop was going to probably deal. If you Thoughtseized a 2-power creature, excuse me, it was probably going to do you 2 points of damage, potentially 4. So Thoughtseizing it actually only makes it so it deals 2 to you.
I think Thoughtseize is generally underrated against aggressive decks.
Okay.
I think people are too quick to take it out.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. You know, Thoughtseizing against a red deck, for example, maybe even like a burn deck that has lava spikes. Well, you're just taking 2 instead of 3, so that's a win.
And the information's valuable.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're just light on action, and it trades with a card that's hard to trade with otherwise.
You can really blow up their hand that way sometimes.
Yep.
Well, we'll see if Wijaya did leave him in as he's going to finish shuffling up here for game number 3. I think I'm with you because Boros is on the play for game number 3. I think if Devotion was on the play for game 3, I would like Wijaya's spot here, but being on the draw, yuck. Not a fan.
For sure, absolutely.
One thing I do like about Sidher's deck, too, I like the use of a Johnny Caller the Pride in these decks.
Yeah. Ben Lundquist had it on in his Boros deck earlier as well. Definitely a card that never got its fair share when it was first printed, just because of the way the metagame was and White Weenie not really being a deck, but Ajani is very powerful, and it's getting a second time to shine in this format.
So much loyalty.
Yeah, it's hard to kill.
So much loyalty. I know Hero's Downfall is a big thing right now, as Attention Sphere is too, but so much loyalty as we see Ben Lundquist walking by here with the result slip in hand. Looks like he's getting ready to tweet another win with his Boros deck. Benny Beatdowns, as it were. So, looks like he's 3-0 with his Boros strategy.
Yes.
We'll see if Sidher can do the same thing. Boros, the new hotness.
Yeah. No, it definitely capitalizes on Brave of the Elements and Ajani Caller Pride, 2 extremely powerful cards. And there's just a saturation of quality creatures to make it all happen.
I think you're using the term quality loosely.
I mean, relative to the mono red deck, for example.
Okay, that's fair. Something you're intimately familiar with.
2/1s with powers instead of 2/1s with drawbacks.
Both players are going to keep. Dried Militant's going to start the show here for Sidher as Wijaya is going to draw his card, play one of those tap lands, as you did mention, Overgrown Tomb, pass the turn back.
Yeah, Overgrown Tomb is really important for him to have here. It means that all the spells are basically turned on.
Mutavault being the second land is a little bit interesting. It makes you wonder, does Sidher not have another white source for like a Precinct Captain or a Spear Heliod type card, or is he just kind of saying, I really want to get that online right now? Here's a Prophetic Prism from Wijaya, going to draw a card, because he can just get in for 6 here and be pretty happy.
Yep. I think we're going to see Ajani.
Oof. All right, well, he does have the second white. There is your Planeswalker. So Elevator is going up and in for 5. And now things are difficult for Wijaya because now Sidher is coming from 2 different areas.
Right. And I also really like, it's a small thing, but I like Ricky putting the counter on the Dry Militant because of ultimate price.
Yeah, I'm with you there too.
Again, it's small, but these things add up when you're playing beatdown decks.
Johnny's going to go up to 6. Going to put the counter on imposing Sovereign. Do you like the switching it up?
Yeah, you want to diversify your bonds now that you have, because there's other removal spells that could tag it. So you guarantee deal 3 that turn.
Okay.
So you see Gideon, Champion of Justice.
Yeah, a card that we will bring up on the screen for you guys because this is another Planeswalker that doesn't really see a lot of play. The white ones don't see a ton of play. You see Wijaya's taking a look at it. We're going to do the exact same thing here because it has a lot of text. And it's, I don't even know if Ricky knows how to use it, but it does a lot of different things.
Yeah. It's +1s. It basically just, its +1 power is just add loyalty to it. It's +1/+1 for each opposing creature. The 0 is turn it into a creature. And then the 15, if you go ultimate, is win the game, basically. Yeah,
Desecration Demon comes down, but you see that Wijaya knows that he's dead because all Ricky needs to do is activate his Mutavault, sacrifice it to tap the demon, activate his Gideon, pump up the jam with the Johnny to give it double strike and flying, and that's going to do it. And you saw Wijaya lay his hand out and said, I drew all these Underworld connections, and yeah, you did, which is a card that you want to draw in some matchups and you don't want to draw in others. So either way, Boros is going to take down Black-Green Devotion. Ricky Sidher is going to move on to 3-0. Vidianto Wijaya going to move down to 2-1, and Boros looking pretty impressive so far.